you joined us for any of last year's, we have even more for you this year. We will have some of the sessions that we delivered last year running again. We did a very popular session around consent in the law. So we'll be running that again. We've also got other info sessions looking at self-harm, substance misuse, this one, which is great. We'll have Brian Costello from Headstrong. We'll also be looking at influences which affect young people. It's as far away as February, but we have a fantastic speaker, Linda Thompson, for that one. So I hope you'll be able to join us. We'll also be looking at MVP and PSE, and we'll have some of the Education Scotland Development Officer team for that one. So we'll make sure that you're kept up to date through the Teams page, the PSE Teams page, and also on Twitter. But please get in touch too if you don't follow either of them. Just to give you a wee bit of background, in 2020, the Renfrewshire Alcohol and Drugs Commission issued a report which established a true picture across our authority of drug and alcohol use. It also made recommendations of what partners could do together to support local people and communities adversely affected by use in order to improve life outcomes. And that's where this resource has come from. So within education, key questions were asked across focus groups in early years, primary and secondary, including staff and our children and young people. So those questions were, what were the issues for children and young people? What was the impact of stricter licensing on children and young people's alcohol and drug use? How much do they know, which is in most cases a lot more than us? Our knowledge as staff of issues impacting upon them. What is the age demographic around drug and alcohol use? And also looking at the normalisation of use, grooming, and what supports were across our authority. So thankfully funding was awarded to us, and we were able to fund this resource, which you'll see tonight. Working with Iamme Scotland, we've got Carol and Vary here, and they're going to lead you through the resource. And I just want to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to work with them. They really do live and breathe the work that they do. And you'll see that when you go through the resource, the amount of knowledge that they both have around drug and alcohol use is quite spectacular. We also wanted to provide professional learning opportunities. Obviously, this is one of those opportunities for you, delivering lessons just to make it a bit easier for you. You'll see that the resource is very much lift and go, which is part of the brief that we gave Carol and Barry right at the beginning. But also what we love about it, and what Carol and Barry are extremely good at, is ensuring that pupil voice is at the heart of the resource. But they've gone much further than that and involved partners in Renfrewshire, out with Renfrewshire, and also those with lived experience. So I'm going to pass over to Carol and Barry, and I will put myself on mute. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Fiona. So my name's Carol, I'm the project manager for Iamme Scotland, and I'm here today presenting with Barry, so I'll let Barry introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Barry O'Rourke, the project coordinator for Iamme Scotland.
So we're absolutely delighted to have been working on this resource in partnership with Renfrewshire Council to develop it for young people, just to raise awareness of drug and alcohol awareness. Excuse me a second. So just a wee quick overview of who we are. We're a charity that works in partnership with Police Scotland, generally to raise awareness of disability hate crime and to make sure that communities are safe places for everyone to enjoy. You may have seen the logo somewhere, so again, it was just so didn't move on without mentioning that. If you see this logo anywhere, it just means it's a safe place for anyone to go if they need help or support when out in the community. There's over 950 keep safe places across Scotland. So it's just in case after today you think, oh, see that logo in a shop window and didn't know what it was. Okay, so what we're going to talk to you about today is the package that we've developed for Renfrewshire Council. So as Fiona said, we worked with a range of partners, children, young people and people who have lived and living experience of drug and alcohol use and addiction. So I'm going to play a wee kind of overview of what's within the package, and then Barry's going to just do a very brief introduction to the early years and primary stuff. And what we'll focus on today is the secondary resources that are available to you, but also how easy those resources are to access and use within your classroom. So I'm just going to click on this wee short video first.
What does interactive and inclusive learning really look like? Let's find out. The Iamme Scotland team has been working with some pretty amazing partners to produce a new alcohol and drug awareness education pack for children and young people in Scotland. So what? What's so interesting about that? Well, not only have they been working with great partners, they have been working with children, young people, and some people who really know what they are talking about when they talk about drug and alcohol use and addiction. The group have helped to design, develop and produce some fantastic learning material that has contributed to 27 brand new lessons for teachers and police officers to use. All lessons have interactive activities, videos, animations, and best of all, are narrated by children and young people. The lessons detail all of the experiences and outcomes, benchmarks and learning intentions, saving teachers time before each lesson. To top it all, the additional resources are all embedded within the lesson, so no hunting for those additional downloads. There are 8 lesson packs from nursery to P7 and a further 5 lesson packages for S1 through to S5. It's all here and it's all amazing and it's all ready for you to use. Thanks to Renfrewshire Council Children's Services, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, Renfrewshire Health and Social Care Partnership, Police Scotland and some pretty fabulous children, young people and our incredible friends who have shared their lived and living experience. You are all amazing. Find out more at www.iamescotlandeducation.org.uk. What does interactive?
So, as Carol had said, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the primary resources that we worked on. So we worked with just over 60 children in primary schools throughout Renfrewshire to develop the primary school resources. The idea was that, as Fiona had said, we pull everything into one package so that everything is there for teachers to use. So as you can see, this is how it looks on the primary school section of our online learning platform. And as you can see, second down there is the alcohol and substance aware education package. So when teachers click into that, they have every package there from nursery all the way up to primary 7. It will tell the teachers how many resources are there and how long the lesson will take. When we worked with the children and young people, the idea of having the same characters going progressively throughout the years came up. So in front of you, you can see Zach and Ella. So Zach and Ella have been friends since nursery school. And when the children move into primary 1, Zach and Ella in primary 1, and so on and so forth until primary 7. So the characters progress throughout primary school. As we said, it starts at nursery, and we have a nursery book that talks to the children and young people about how to keep safe. So I'm just going to show you a quick section of the animated book, just to give you an idea of what nursery children will see.
Hi, my name is Lily and I am 7 years old.
Hi, my name is Charlie and I am also 7 years old.
Hi, my name is Amy and today we are going to read Zach and Ella Keep Safe.
This is Zach and Ella. Zach and Ella are best friends. They are going to talk to you about how to keep safe.
Zach's favourite teddy bear is called Sam. Zach is sad because he's lost Sam.
Ella is helping him to look for Sam. They look in Zach's house first.
They start looking in the kitchen. Zach's mum is baking some lovely fresh bread. Zach is going to look inside the oven to see if Sam is there.
Ella says that the oven is hot and it is dangerous for Zach to look in there.
Question time!
So that's a 3-year-old shouting out question time. So it's quite an interactive resource, and that's what we tried to do all the way through the lessons. For the nursery or early years, there's puppets that the nursery practitioners can use as well. So as you can see up here, Zach and Ella grow, and we start to talk about things like making good decisions, but also talk about medicine in the lower years. So I'm going to quickly show you the primary 2 animation, which will give you a bit of an idea of how it progresses from nursery.
I love sweeties. You don't know if it's a sweet, it could be something else, and it's been on the ground. It looks like a sweetie. Well, my gran has the loveliest heart in the whole wide world. But she says that her heart needs a little help to stay healthy. So the doctor gave her a little tablet that helps with that, and it looks just like this. Let's go and ask.
So as you can see, the animations are short, but what we've done is we've built a lesson around that to pull out the information from there to start talking about medication, that medication can be good if it's prescribed for you for the right reasons and taken at the right time. As we progress up to the higher end of the primary school, we start to talk about substances, alcohol, tobacco, drugs and solvents. So when we went on to the high school resources, we thought the character progression should continue. So we worked with an amazing group of young people who designed Zach and Ella when they were 15. So you can see them on the screen here. We went to them with a design of characters and they told us it wasn't that great, and they basically redesigned the characters. They gave us ideas of scripts, how they wanted Zach and Ella's story to go. So Zach and Ella's story is present in every single year. We have an animation for high school, and Carol will go on a wee bit more to talk about that.
Okay, so I'm just going to cover the secondary stuff now. So Barry sort of touched on working with the children and young people. They're incredibly honest. So it's just as well Barry and I had thick skins, because they quite often told us that something wasn't working and they needed it changed. So the good thing is that everything that we've designed, we're entirely confident that young people are happy with, because they've designed most of it themselves. So this is a platform, how it looks. It's really self-explanatory. Click on early years if you're wanting to go into the early years section, and if you want to go into secondary, you just click on there. The secondary section looks like this. It is important to say that we'll continue to build on the platform, so the library will just continue to get bigger the more we work on it. You can access any of these resources: hate crime, disability awareness, or the alcohol and substance awareness. So again, you just click in that and everything's a library within the library, so it's so easy to work. When you open this here, it will tell you S1 through to S5 and exactly what's in that lesson and how long each of those lessons are. They've got an outline here, which also gives you an overview of what's in the lessons. So I'm just going to a wee section. What we also have is, Fiona touched on it, we worked with 10 individuals who told us their life story, starting off as a child all the way through their story of addiction, right onto their journey through recovery. So the people that we worked with wanted to call their library From Addiction to Hope. So this is the Addiction to Hope library. What I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to skip from the presentation straight into the platform. So again, if I go into the platform here, you can see how everything's really easy to work. If I just click on the secondary, it'll open up the secondary section. So I'm going to go into the Life Library and I'm going to ask Fiona, because she's the only one that I can see on my screen here, to tell me whose story to highlight today. Just before I do, if I highlight a couple of wee things, the notes for each section of your lesson is here on the left. Each of the lessons are either narrated by a child or a young person. You can either let that child or young person deliver the lesson as a peer-to-peer learning experience, or you can turn it off here just by the volume button and you can deliver it yourself at your own pace. So the lessons are fully flexible, but what we have done is pulled all of the knowledge and experience into one place. Barry also touched on the section, if I go back to the library here and come in to choose one of the lessons. Each of the lessons has all your experiences and outcomes pulled together. So what we're hoping that by doing that, it just gives you that wee bit more time, and it doesn't mean that every single teacher is going to have to go and do that same preparatory lesson planning every time. So in your outline button here, you can jump to what section of the lesson you want to go to. So if I go here,
Welcome to our
give you an
S2
overview of
Alcohol
what's
and
in the
Substance
lesson.
Awareness Resources. Lesson 1. Names, effects, and potential harms of drugs. Lesson 2. Drugs and the law. Lesson 3. Alcohol. Lesson 4. risks and safeguarding. You
So
can click
you
each box
jump
to take
to
you to the lesson you
one
want to
of those if you
commence.
want to just jump straight to it, or you can go through the
You can
lesson
either click the box
and into the teacher's pack here. So all of your learning intentions, your experiences and outcomes and your benchmarks are all pulled together there. What we would also say is if you identify that something's missing, see if you let us know, we'll just add it in there, and it just means that it's there and another teacher doesn't have to go and hunt for that information. So anything you think's missing at any time, just let us know and we can pop it in. So I'm going to go back to the Life Library, just as an
Welcome
introduction.
to the My Life Library. Within this library, there are 10 people who have volunteered to tell you their stories of addiction. You can click on a picture of the person's story you would like to hear and work your way through the slides. Alternatively, you can print off each story from the Resources button situated at the top right-hand side of the lesson. You can work as a class or work in groups. Consider why the person you have chosen may have become addicted.
So again, you as a teacher can decide how you want to deliver that, if you want to deliver it in groups, or if you want the individuals to choose a person. There's full flexibility within every lesson for you to deliver it the way that you think best suits your class. I'm going to
Click on the person to hear
just now so we can move through it a wee bit faster. Fiona, do you want to choose somebody and we'll go and have a look at their story?
Let's go for Becky.
Becky, okay. So the young people in your class will choose who they want to work with. You can either download Becky's story as a printout, so every single resource that you need for these lessons are in here. So we've pulled all that together for you as well. So again, you don't need to go hunting for additional information. I'm going to click on Becky's story. I've turned the voiceover off just now, but what that would do is explain that Becky's 40 years old and is addicted to various drugs, including heroin. She used to work but recently hasn't been able to. She sells drugs to pay for her addiction and she's been arrested for the possession of drugs. So we tested this with a group of young people at St Andrews High School, and we asked the young people, what do you think, well, we used William's story, but what do you think of Becky? Why do you think Becky started to drink alcohol and take drugs? What do you think will happen to Becky, and what would you say to her if you met her? So throughout our journey, we worked on this for 10 months, and throughout the 10 months, we learned that young people won't relate to older people's stories in the sense that they won't see themselves ever being in that position. So what we thought we would do with the lived experience stories was use it to tackle some of the stigma around drug use, drug and alcohol use. So we asked the young people these questions and we asked them to be really honest about the language that they would use. So they'd said, we used Williams, that William was a JK or a junkie and a waste of space, and you know they wouldn't give him the time of day. So that's good. That's what we wanted to draw out, because that is what people think of when you see somebody on the street that uses drugs or alcohol and has an issue with it. What we then do is we go on to tell Becky's story. So starting off at childhood, because what we want them to see is, when did you stop seeing Becky as a person? No, Becky was a child just like you have been, and this is Becky's story. So each of the 10 stories are all incredibly different, but they all start off at childhood and work their way through. They work their way through addiction into adult life, and then they all finish up with where the person is now. So Becky's been in recovery for a number of years, and she has a fantastic job working with the Scottish Government and drug policy. So it shows Becky coming out the other side and spending time with her family. And then we asked the young people the same 4 questions. What do you think of Becky? And the response after actually getting to understand somebody and understand their story and learn a bit more about them was completely different from at the start, when the prejudice and stigma comes in. So the lived library is really, really, the young people absolutely love just getting to learn a wee bit more about the people. What we also did was we decided to take that a wee bit further. So we also developed a Q&A, and we asked young people across Renfrewshire, what questions would you like to ask these 10 people? What questions would you like to ask people who have been addicted to drugs or alcohol? And we captured that as part of a Q&A. So again, Fiona, just because you're the only person I can see, in fact, I think I can see Kat, so I'll maybe ask Kat this time.
click the question you would like to hear the answer to.
Kat, what question would you like to ask?
How far would you have gone to get drink and drugs?
okay, how far would you go into drinking drugs? So the point of the Q&A here is again to give young people control of what they want to ask. These are all interactive, so the smart board works with these so young people can come up and choose them. So we'll click on this one.
How far would you have went to get drinking drugs?
Basically, I would have done anything. I would have stole at somebody's house, pickpocket. I would have stole at the shop. I would have just basically done anything to chase that buzz.
It'd be easier to list what I would not do. You know, I've found that the pursuit of drugs, I lost interest in alcohol very quickly because it caused a lot of problems growing up for me and the people around me. So I wasn't interested in that. Plus, I would get hangovers and I didn't like that. So in order to get drugs, when you're taking the type of drugs that I was taking and the quantities that I was taking them in, you cannot just go into the shop around the corner and buy them. You can't just go to the chemist and get them. So I had to commit a lot of crime. I was breaking into houses, I was breaking into businesses, I was committing forgeries, I was selling stolen goods, I was robbing people, I was always coming up with scams. There's a lot of things I've done that I am not particularly proud of that have impacted people. People have lost their life as a result of some of the things I've done. And I'm not proud of that at all. What I can see looking back is that is a very unwell person that does that, because if that's your best idea to cope with life and an attempt to cope with life, that tells you about the thinking that's driving that behaviour. If you're prepared to go to those lengths in order just to not sit in your own skin for a few hours, you know, that tells me that there's something deeply fundamentally wrong with me as a person, that I'm prepared to go to those lengths and cause that much harm for people, risk my own freedom and risk my own life.
Well, eventually when I was, when I had all these dreams when I was younger of like being a policewoman or being an actress or all these sort of things was taken away from me through my addiction, and actually ended up selling sex for money. And that was looking back now, it was quite traumatic, it was quite scary, and it certainly wasn't what I dreamt of when I was younger. So that was where my addiction took me. So yeah, it was not very nice.
I hear a lot of people talking about like they would steal it. I didn't have to do anything like that. Do you know, I had money available to me, and I had the means to get alcohol or drugs if I wanted it. I think what scares me the most is probably what I would have done when I had already drank or when I had already used substances, and it was the risks I would put myself in. I would have stepped over, and I always share this, that I couldn't stop drinking for my son, but I would have stepped over and get another drink once I was already in the middle of a drunk. I didn't care about anybody else when I was drinking, or I would have done anything once I'd already lifted it.
So we've spent an awful lot of time with these 10 people over the last months, and they've shared everything with us. They've shared their most harrowing stories. So what we've tried to do is capture that respectfully and cut it down into question and answers for young people. Again, just recognising that they don't want to sit and watch a 20-minute video. Just gives them a wee bit more control about the questions that they ask. And then as a class, you can either explore that a bit further or move on to continue with the lesson. So there's lots and lots of flexibility about how you deliver it. We've also made it accessible, so we've included voiceovers for everything to help with children who maybe have literacy difficulties, because again, as a teacher, you might decide that this is something that the class will work on individually, and they'll choose their own person and work through that story and the question and answers individually. So it just means that it's fully accessible for young people, and there's voiceovers and everything throughout it. So I'm just going to pop back to the presentation, covered the Q&A. So in total, in the resources, there's 27 lessons, 10 animations, 16 information videos, 6 short films, 2 Q&As, 13 additional activities and 48 embedded resources. So what we hoped to actually have at the end of this was something that teachers could lift off the shelf and use, as Fiona said, rather than having to do a lot of research, and maybe the terminologies have changed or the legislation's changed. We've worked with a range of partners across NHS, police, children's services to capture all of that expertise and to bring it together for you. I've got a couple of wee videos here from the secondary one, so I'm going to show you county lines. It's something we weren't aware of before we started, and then it was a term that we noticed the police were using. So we again started doing a bit of research around that, and most of the videos that we've developed are children and young people narrating. However, the county lines is the police narrating it, and then the Loxon one, which I'll touch on, is somebody who has been in recovery narrating it. So it just depends on the appropriateness of the video. So I'll share this one with you.
What is county lines? Gangs and organised networks are exploiting young people to sell drugs, using dedicated phone lines to supply drugs. The gangs initially offer friendship, making the young person feel like a valued member of the group. They will often offer gifts like money, alcohol, drugs, or lifts to places, and give the young person designer clothes and shoes. The group then begin to ask the young person to carry out serious crimes, like getting involved in violent situations, carrying offensive weapons, and dealing drugs. Young people are coerced into debt, so they are unable to break the tie to the organised crime group or gang, and are often forced to take debt from any stolen or lost drugs. Young people often have their bank accounts used by crime groups for criminal purposes, with the money in their account ending up not belonging to them. The young person might witness something called cuckooing. Cuckooing is when a crime group takes control of a vulnerable person's home for criminal purposes. Violence and threats are used to keep young people under the crime group's control. These young people are often bought train tickets to transport drugs throughout the country. If this happens to you, or you think it's happening to someone you know, you're not alone. These young people are the victims of county lines. They need help to get out of this situation. If you're involved in or think someone you know is involved in county lines, call Police Scotland on 101, or if it is an emergency, call 999. You can also speak up with information about who's responsible, 100% anonymously at fearless.org.
That was county lines, something that the teachers maybe not be aware of, and again it's maybe something that you might notice somebody in your class coming in with new trainers and new phones that they didn't previously have, and it's maybe just a wee red flag that there might be something else going on there. The progress bar that you saw on the presentation that was covering some of the text isn't in the lessons, it's just because we've got a presentation format up today. So rather than me choosing which videos to show you, I'm going to skip on to here because this is all of the videos we've made. And Fiona or Kat, I don't know if you want to choose just one more to watch before we sort of just explain what else is in the presentation. I don't know if one of you want to choose one.
I'm going to go for spiking because I've noticed there's been quite a few posts shared on Facebook recently.
Spiking.
Drink spiking is when someone puts alcohol or other drugs into another person's drink without their knowledge. It can include putting alcohol into a non-alcoholic drink, adding extra alcohol to an alcoholic drink, slipping prescription or illegal drugs into an alcoholic or non-alcoholic drink. Alcohol is actually the drug most commonly used in drink spiking. The use of other drugs such as benzodiazepines like Rohypnol, GHB or ketamine is relatively rare but does happen. Perpetrators may spike victims' drinks to commit sexual assault. But according to the data, the most common type of drink spiking is just for a joke. So how can we keep safe? If you think your drink has been spiked, you should ask someone you trust to get you to a safe place. Or talk to venue staff or security if you're at a licensed venue. If you feel very unwell, you should seek medical attention. Spiking warning signs include feeling lightheaded or like you might faint, feeling sick or very tired. Feeling drunk despite only having a very small amount of alcohol, passing out, feeling uncomfortable and confused with no memory of the night before. If you believe your drink has been spiked or you have been sexually assaulted, contact the police to report the incident. Precautions that can reduce the risk of drink spiking include: have your drink close to you, keep an eye on it and don't leave it unattended. Avoid sharing drinks with other people. Buy/pour your own drinks. If you are offered a drink by someone you don't know, go to the bar with them so you can watch the drink being prepared. If your drink tastes strange, pour it out. Keep an eye on your friends' drinks too. Anywhere you see this logo is a keep safe place that has been checked and approved by Police Scotland. You can go into any Keep Safe place and ask for help. Keep Safe Scotland is available free on iOS and Android.
So we've actually redid that one because the sound wasn't great. Also, we're using YouTube today because we've got all the links set up on here, but all of the videos will be embedded. All of the videos that we've developed will be embedded into the actual lesson. So there's a whole range of different videos. It's just a different way of presenting information and they're all different voices. So just even the benzodiazepine, that's a couple of young boys that have done that. I'll just play the start of that one.
Benzos in Scotland. In 2019, benzodiazepines were implicated in 888 deaths.
So I'll not play the whole video, but the young people, when we were testing the lessons, had come back and they said they really liked that it was young people that were in the videos. It felt as if they were getting advice from another young person rather than an adult telling them what to do. So that was really interesting feedback and we made sure that we integrated that all the way through. So in total, we worked with 893 people to develop and test the lessons over the past 10 months. The majority of the people that we worked with at the end were testers who gave us feedback and then we would go back and make the changes. We made sure that we brought in key partners, Police Scotland, NHS, professionals around paramedics, youth navigators, people who work with young people and linked in with education throughout. So that's us in a nutshell. We have all these packages all ready for you. Does anybody have any questions for us?
I'm going to ask the first question. How do people get onto the resource?
Okay, so the resource is available on the platform. It's free access for every teacher and police officer in Scotland. All you need to do is send us a wee email and we'll set you up with a username and password. Once you've got that, you can go in and access the stuff as often as you like. We will continue to add on that, so we've got a few other resources that we're finishing up just now that also might be of interest to you, and we're hoping to, we have 2 mental health films that we're hoping to develop into resources, so the platform will continue to build and you can access it whenever you want.
I just put something in the chat, sorry Mrs McBride, I just put something in the chat to say you can also access it through the Renfrewshire Health and Wellbeing blog. And there's a link there in the chat too. Okay, who's next? Let's go for Mrs. McBride.
Hi there, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yep. Oh, brilliant. No, it's just to say it's absolutely brilliant. I've actually, while you were talking, gone in, looked on the website, found that I had to go and email to get logins, and I've already emailed from my department. So just really no feedback. It's fantastic. Well done.
Thank you. Okay. And Joanne?
Hi there, I'd just like to come in. I think this looks an absolutely amazing resource. My question is, I'm a community learning and development officer, and if my community learning and development workers or practitioners or colleagues were wanting access to this amazing site, how do they go about it?
Just exactly the same, just email us. We have a complete ethos as a charity. There's no point in developing things that people can't use. So if you think you can use it, we can set you up with a username and password. The reason we have a username and password is when we were working with the 10 people with lived experience, once you actually go in and have a look, some of the stories are absolutely horrific and some haven't shared that information with their families. So we just ensured them that it would be password access only, just to protect their dignity and just to be respectful. So if you think that your practitioners can use it, get them to email us and we'll get them set up. It's not a problem.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
Yep, I've just seen in the chat someone else has already done the same. Please feel free to share around your local authority as well. I'm aware that this probably went out with a wee bit of short notice in terms of when we were able to release our professional learning offer and the date of today, so please feel free to share with colleagues too. I think you'll be all right with that, Fiona?
Absolutely, yes. Any more questions?
I see a hand up there.
I think Joanne's is a legacy hand.
It was also just to say, Barry and I are both mums. So when we went into lockdown and all of a sudden you were inundated, or your children and you were inundated with all these things to download, we suddenly realised that how difficult things must be for teachers. So we know that there's a wealth of information out there around substance awareness. However, it tends to be big clunky PowerPoints, and then you have to go and hunt for additional information. And what we thought was, let's try and make it as easy as possible for you. So just in terms of efficiency savings, rather than every single teacher having to go and look at benchmarks, get it in the one place and it's all done for you. So everything we've developed from now on will have that curriculum for excellence experiences and outcomes and benchmarks included, just to try and help. So Barry and I aren't teachers, so we may have missed something. If we have, just email us. We've been working with children and young people for the last 10 months, so we have just, like, our skins are like rhinos now. So if there's something not working, tell us. If something's missing, tell us. For it to be the best that it can be makes life easier for everybody, so just let us know.
I think what came across for me working with you both was just, I've always said that as far as PSE is concerned, this was my weakest area. And that I felt really out my depth talking about drugs and alcohol in school. But I think that's why it's so amazing that the resource does a lot of the teaching. So you'll find that, like me, as I've been going along with both of you, you learn a lot along the way, which is absolutely great. Any other questions?
That's our email address if you want a username and password, and that's just some of the things that we're working on just now that will also get added onto the platform. So we're currently working on a wee ADHD lesson that will come with an animation. So there's always lots happening. So feel free to, if you think there's anything missing that's a key subject for schools, get in touch with us. We can't promise, but it's maybe something that we can look into to support in the future.
We'll also be putting this recording up on the same page in the Health and Wellbeing blog, so feel free to access that, and hopefully that will help you get started with the resource.
I'll maybe just finish off, Fiona, with the wee animation about the teenage brain then, because it's quite light.
Teenagers. Expected to act like adults, but often treated like children. No wonder they're confused. They've been called many things: lazy, cheeky, smelly, hungry, contrarian, but above all else, daredevils. Teenagers are known for a risk-taking attitude that gets them in all sorts of difficult and often dangerous situations. Taking risks is not entirely a bad thing. It's an important part of a teen's journey to finding their identity and independence. Positive risks involve sports such as rock climbing, mountain biking, canoeing, football, hockey, basketball, even dancing. These activities bring out a feeling of excitement and uncertainty with the possibility of a rewarding outcome. Negative risks are activities that may result in harm to themselves or others. For instance, fast driving, drug use, binge drinking, and risky sexual behaviour. Why do so many teenagers take negative risks? The human brain doesn't finish developing until our mid-20s. The last part to develop is the prefrontal cortex, which weighs up risk and consequences, forms judgments, and controls impulses and emotions. For this reason, it can be harder for teenagers to think ahead and make sensible decisions. Changes in the brain during adolescence make teenagers focus on the rewards of being admired by their peers and the positive reinforcement of feeling included. Studies show that teenagers are more likely to take risks when they are with other teenagers. Peer approval becomes a highly sought-out reward, whereas peer rejection is cause of great distress. Teenagers can keep themselves safe by speaking to someone you trust and ask for advice if you are unsure about something. Always know how you are getting home. Plan ahead how you can refuse if you are offered alcohol or drugs. Friends are important. If a friend is taking unhealthy risks, speak to them. They may be going through something and could do with your support. Enjoy new activities that can help you take healthy risks. These enable your brain to get those much-needed thrill seeks and rewards in a safe way. If you're unsure about something, ask yourself, is it really worth the risk?
This is finishing a wee light-hearted one.
Also, just for information, I've put a link to our newsletter in the chats just because it has the dates of the upcoming info sessions for throughout the year. So please look out for more information on them. And Kat has just put the evaluation in the chat too. So please fill that out so that we can just check in and report that the info session has been valuable to you.
Yeah, if you could fill that out, it would be much appreciated. It just lets us know what's working for you and what's not working. Really appreciate that. Okay, so it just remains for me to say thank you to everybody. We really appreciate you sharing this across the local authorities. And thank you very much to Renfrewshire for allowing that to happen. We will hang on. In case there's anyone that wants to ask questions, I am going to stop the recording.